tonight, boosters authorized. The FDA okays vaccine booster shots of Moderna for high-risk groups and J&J for anyone over 18, awaiting CDC approval. This as the Attorney General appears before Congress on the hot seat over a Texas abortion law, the January 6 riots at the Capitol, and addressing threats to school officials.
When government tells parents we're smarter than you, Americans aren't going to tolerate it.
As parents and school board members across the country face off. Chaos over curriculum, social issues, and COVID-19 mandate. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
The Attorney General defending the DOJ. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. A contentious day on Capitol Hill. Attorney General Merrick Garland in the hot seat. Lawmakers grilling him over the Justice Department's stance on everything from election integrity to the federal government cracking down on local and state school board meetings.
Senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon brings us this look at his testimony in tonight's top story.
The Attorney General detailed his vision for the Justice Department before a House Oversight Committee, and right off the bat, controversy.
Raise your right hand.
Even before the Attorney General's swearing in, fireworks.
Did we ever vote on that? That's a clever written statement, but a protocol is not a rule.
Popping off over a failure to provide proper notice to play a video of a school board meeting.
Obviously, you're going to censor us, which is sort of the conduct of the left today, it seems.
This ahead of Attorney General Merrick Garland's opening statement, laying out his vision for the DOJ.
On my first day in office, I spoke about three co-equal priorities that should guide the department's work: upholding the rule of law, keeping our country safe, and protecting civil rights.
Those three priorities pitted against claims of election fraud, charges in the January 6 riot, and a country grappling with a debate over the public school system's role in social issues and COVID mandates.
Not in a million years did we dream that one day we'd see the Justice Department treat American parents as domestic terrorists.
The AG skewered over a Justice Department memo instructing the FBI to address threats against school officials.
Is there legal precedent for the Department of Justice to investigate peaceful protests or parental involvement at public school meetings?
We would never do that. We are only concerned about violence, threats of violence.
After a national school board missive to President Biden said clashes and protests by parents over public schools may amount to domestic terrorism.
What the White House told you to write the memo?
No one in the White House spoke to me about the memo at all.
Also at issue, the 2020 election.
There's no evidence that voter fraud impacted the outcome of the 2020 presidential election, true?
That's correct.
Garland reiterating the findings of multiple state audits across the country, proving claims of widespread voter fraud to be false. And in the midst of an ongoing Capitol riot probe, the AG outlining the DOJ's role ahead of a House vote on bringing contempt of Congress charges against Steve Bannon over the former White House counselor's refusal to cooperate.
We'll apply the facts and the law and make a decision consistent with the principles of prosecution.
The AG also facing questions over the Texas law banning abortions in the state and the DOJ's repeated attempts to block it in federal appeals courts. The latest attempt now heading to the Supreme Court. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Here with us now, CBN News chief political analyst David Brody. David, one of the main issues Republicans seized on today was that the Garland memo. It's all right, we'll forgive you. Sent to DOJ employees authorizing the feds to intervene at school board meetings. GOP lawmakers have accused him of overstepping, saying those are areas that should be controlled by state and local law enforcement. David, how do you think things went down today?
Well, first of all, let me just clear it up. The mic fell off, okay? So, yeah, this is real time. Listen, we're real people. We're not bobblehead anchors and reporters,
live TV.
Okay? That's right. Give me a moment to adjust. My goodness. Okay, I'm fine. Actually, sometimes people prefer the mic not be on, actually. But anyhow, that's a separate issue. Look, how do I think it went down? There's a lot to unpack here. Let's just start with this, the Patriot Act, right? I mean, this whole idea that this is the big concern, that the Patriot Act passed in 2001 after September 11th could be used against, in essence, domestic terrorists. And are these parents in Loudoun County and all these other school boards across the country domestic terrorists? And I think that is kind of the whole big issue here, and what's really getting Republicans in a lather. And look, it's tough for Democrats, and it was tough for Garland today to have to be in that position. But that's what happens when you put out a memo like that, especially coming after the National School Board. One of the unions put out a letter about that as well.
Yeah, David, that timeline, too, for that. Garland issued that memo days after the National School Board Association asked the Biden administration to use tools, as you mentioned, the Patriot Act that's related to terrorism, to deal with these kind of situations. David, that is a tough timeline to explain.
Well, it is. And, you know, Merrick Garland said today that he didn't talk to anybody in the White House. However, guess what else was said? He said that someone at the DOJ did talk to the White House about that memo that went out from the school board, or excuse me, the union. I keep saying the school board, the union. And so that needs to be unpacked a little. I'm waiting for the mainstream media to really do some Pulitzer Prize-winning journalism on that one. Don't think that's happening anytime soon. But you have to wonder that the timeline is kind of a bit sketchy on all of this. And remember, you've got Joe Biden also saying a lot of interesting things, kind of agreeing with the school, the union on this. And then you got Merrick Garland coming out. And so you put it all together and you just wonder if something isn't up. I mean, people aren't stupid, and they also understand that as much as the DOJ and Garland want to say that they're separate, they should be. The Department of Justice should be separate. No one's really buying that. And honestly, they didn't buy it during the Trump administration either. They knew that Bill Barr and Jeff Sessions were all kind of like placating Trump as well.
All right, CBN News chief political analyst who can now take off his microphone, David Brody. Thank you so much, David.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Well, big news on the COVID-19 booster shots. The FDA giving the green light to both Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. The agency also says it's okay to mix and match any of the 3 brands on the market. Tara Merchner has this story.
The CDC now needs to sign off, but both developments are being touted as a major development in the fight against COVID. The FDA just okayed booster shots for Americans who got the Moderna or Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Moderna's recommendations the same as Pfizer's after 6 months for those 65 and older and people considered high risk. Johnson & Johnson after 2 months for those over 18. And now the agency says the brand for the booster can be different from the initial vaccine.
This is important because it's going to provide additional protection to a large portion of this population and also provides really some flexibility to people.
The news is the number of COVID cases in the U.S. reportedly falls to 75,000 a day, about 10,000 fewer than last week. COVID-related deaths and hospitalizations are also down, a trend health officials hope will continue. The White House is also rolling out its plan to get the Pfizer vaccine to 28 million children ages 5 to 11 starting next month.
We need everyone on board for the work ahead of us, because every parent should have the information and tools that they need to help keep their kids safe.
Once regulators sign off, more than 15 million doses will ship out to doctors' offices, pharmacies, community and school clinics. While the U.S. appears to be moving in the right direction with fewer COVID cases, cases in Europe have been spiking. There's concern variants, including Delta Plus, could take their toll, especially with winter ahead. In Washington, I'm Tara Merchner, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Tara. To the pandemic's financial fallout, unemployment applications have reached the lowest level since March of 2020, when the virus brought much of the economy to a halt. Today's figures from the Labor Department show 290,000 new jobless claims filed last week. That's down about 6,000 from the prior 7 days. These latest numbers mark 2 straight weeks unemployment applications have come in below 300,000.
And here now for more, Mark Hamrick, Senior Economic Analyst and Washington Bureau Chief at Bankrate. Mark, welcome. Good to see you. So this, on the face, it seems like good news. What's your takeaway? How do you see it?
Very good news, Jenna. We're having essentially these new jobless claims, which are a reflection of fresh job loss or recent layoffs.
move ever closer to pre-pandemic levels. And it feels like it was such a long time ago, but at the outset of the pandemic-related downturn, we were at nearly 7 million new jobless claims in a single week, with up to 30 million people on some form of unemployment benefit at the peak. Now, the total number is closer to 3 million, and the number who are receiving unemployment insurance through the traditional state programs in the mid-2 million range. So fresh job loss, not the issue. We know that many employers are desperate actually to get workers, and we recently had a record number of job openings.
300,000 does sound like a lot, but that perspective going back to where we were 7 million, that does help us actually hold things in perspective. Mark, real quickly here, more and more headlines are using the word stagflation. Are we headed towards slower economic growth, high unemployment, and high inflation? It's something we haven't really seen since the early 1980s.
Well, we're moving away from high unemployment. Unemployment recently at 4.8%, probably going to get closer to 3.5, which is the pre-pandemic low. But we are seeing growth slow, but still above the long-term trend. For the full year, John, growth is expected to come in at near 5%, but those forecasts are coming down because inflation has been higher and continuing longer, and probably will continue at least early into the first half of next year.
Yeah, grocery prices are on the rise for many Americans. Does that concern you at all, Mark?
Oh, absolutely. You know, inflation takes its worst toll on those who are at the lowest ladders of income and wealth, poor people. And so for those who are well-to-do, you know, it's just not really an issue. But for the middle class and those who are in lower income groups, that's where the toll is taken. And, you know, it's like they can't get a break because they were also hit hardest by the pandemic, and here it is, inflation is now the burgeoning problem of the day, along with getting this pandemic finally under control, we hope.
All right, bank rates. Mark Hamrick, we always appreciate your time and insights. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
The future of Chinese military might goes hypersonic. We explain when Faith Nation returns.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch. Thanks for joining us. Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Superbook fans, here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Welcome back. Well, China is known for its military might, and now it's showing off space-age war capabilities.
That's right. The communist government is calling a recent hypersonic missile launch a routine test of new technology. But is it a test the U.S. is ready for?
CBN's Brody reports on the future of the wartime technology.
China denied they test-launched a hypersonic missile into space in August after a Financial Times report that it circled the entire Earth and landed within 25 miles of its target.
The U.S. does not currently have the ability to even track this weapon, much less defeat it. It will give the Chinese the ability to conduct a nuclear strike anywhere in the world without warning.
The missile, capable of carrying a nuclear warhead, reportedly circled the entire globe at 5 times the speed of sound. This comes as China works to build up its strategic and nuclear weapons systems. Both China and Russia have tested hypersonics. The U.S. has not.
We've made clear our concern about the military capabilities that the PRC continues to pursue.
Other feats of military strength include more than 250 missile silos built for nuclear warheads in China's western desert, seen in this satellite photo near the city of Yumen. They've also deployed nuclear ballistic missiles launched from submarines.
I think we're having, as a country, a very hard time getting our hands around exactly how to deal with this kind of high-tech challenge from a non-democratic competitor.
China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the missile was a routine test of a spacecraft to verify reusability of the technology, but went on to warn the U.S. and Canada to avoid provoking war.
That suggests that China is either preparing to be able to fight a nuclear conflict or it's trying to deter escalation to the nuclear level if there's a conventional conflict. Either way, that's a concerning pattern of behavior.
But this is the decade of concern, as they say, so our weapons development should be put on an accelerated basis.
And if we don't, what would happen?
We could lose a war.
The intelligence community has warned that China is rapidly expanding its military capabilities. The question is, how will the U.S. respond? I'm Brody Carter, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Brody. Parents have had enough. Why tempers are running red hot at school board meetings across the nation. After this.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Saturday night at 6 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Welcome back. With less than 2 weeks until this off-year election day, the governor's race in Virginia is dead even. Republican candidate Glenn Youngkin has closed the gap with Democratic rival Terry McAuliffe. The contest is widely viewed as a bellwether for the 2022 midterm elections. Last month, McAuliffe led the race by 5 percentage points, But according to a new Monmouth University poll, the two men are now in a dead heat, each with support of about 46% of registered Virginia voters. The biggest swing has come among independent voters, where Youngkin now leads 48 to 39%.
Critical race theory, transgender bathrooms, and the COVID pandemic are three hot-button issues seen as ground zero in the Virginia race, and also causing chaos at school board meetings across the country.
That's right, Jenna. And those meetings pitting parents against educators in heated and sometimes angry outbursts. As CBN's Heather Sells reports, it's a trend also spilling over into politics.
If you vote for this, we will come for you in a non-violent way.
In August, parents at this Tennessee school board meeting shouted over the superintendent as he announced a decision to go forward with masks.
You're telling us how to run our kids?
Then cheered as a deputy escorted a parent out of the room.
Such scenes have become common on screens from social media to television news this year. Angry parents protesting COVID policies and other hot topics. Even teachers are showing signs of frustration.
And we're not angry about the situation. We can't control COVID. We're angry at you.
Dr. Neil McCluskey at the Cato Institute has followed public school conflicts since the mid-2000s, and despite the high-profile tensions, he's seen no dramatic spike nationally.
We're certainly seeing more examples of really high anxiety and great anger at some school boards. It's hard to tell whether or not we're seeing this sort of as nationally representative.
There have always been controversial issues in schools with parents.
Former school board president and elementary teacher Dr. Sheila Hill now teaches at Regent University. Over the years, she's watched debates ranging from curriculum to worries over redistricting. Now she's seen the anger in a different light. National issues bubbling up at the local level.
What makes it unusual now is that it may be local to that community or that city, but the issue is the same across the nation. And so it's being played up on the news. It's been nationalized.
McCluskey's map shows a variety of debates from race to sex ed. What seems to be generating the most heat this year, critical race theory, transgender issues, and the pandemic.
People have been very frustrated with COVID-19, and they're just sort of getting fed up in some cases with feeling like they don't have control over what's happening with their children.
Hill has empathy for school board members.
Most people on school boards are on there because of wanting to give back to the community.
And McCluskey observes for many right now, it's a no-win situation.
If you are serving diverse communities, and in particular diverse in terms of ideologies and values, you can't satisfy all of those different parents. And what's worse is if you choose one group, and that's usually what this comes down to, is a battle for control. If one group gets control, that means another group is not getting what they think is important for their children. So it puts school districts often in an impossible situation.
That's leading some school board members to quit, citing the stress.
Figure it out or get off the podium.
And a record number of recalls this year could force many to step down. One thing's for sure, there's new energy around education across the political spectrum. President Biden has the Department of Education investigating 5 states with Republican governors that require public schools to allow parents to opt out of mask mandates. Education is also an issue in Virginia's tightening gubernatorial race.
As governor, I would not issue a mask mandate for our kids to go back to school.
And Politico reports that in some states like Arizona and Ohio, hundreds are showing up for school board boot camps to learn how to campaign and more about critical race theory. Republicans especially hope the grassroots momentum will re-energize the party.
In the end, parents, of course, will have the final say, and it may look like pulling their kids out of public schools.
The National Home Education Research Institute reports that numbers have doubled in the last 2 years. Plus, the Association of Christian Schools International says many schools' enrollment jumped by 10% last year. For now, Bill encourages parents to use their voices respectfully in the public comment time during school board meetings.
If people can work together, as opposed to shouting and threatening and trying to get their views known, that we can probably get through it a lot smoother.
Getting along for the sake of the next generation and a nation weary from a pandemic and political anger. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Fighting against injustice and leaving a legacy for all Americans. Still ahead, remembering Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link. Tuesday morning at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Finally tonight, the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. marks a turning point for civil rights in America. Here in Washington, D.C., a stone memorial sits near the National Mall honoring his legacy.
It was 10 years ago that the memorial opened to the public. Today, President Biden marked the anniversary by encouraging Americans to carry on Dr. King's message of equality for all.
To state the obvious, and no audience knows it better than this one, we've never lived up to that idea. But we've never walked away from it fully.
Each day, visitors from around the world visit the MLK Memorial, which features several indelible quotes from Martin Luther King Jr. etched in stone, including the line from his memorable 1963 letter from a Birmingham jail. That is, quote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Jenna, his words still hold true even decades later today.
They do, absolutely, and that's just a beautiful monument. It's huge in stature.
One of my favorites in D.C.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for watching Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.